Year 5117. Earth was no longer a planet, it was a graveyard with gravity. The oceans had boiled away in the century-long climate collapse. The skies were dense, filled with industrial ash and metallic dust, forever choking what little light filtered down from the dying sun. Great cities, once glowing with life, had become rusted skeletons, sunken in cracked deserts, or swallowed by toxic jungles gone mad. Above it all drifted humanity's final echo, the arc horizon. Built over. Generations from what remained of Earth's orbital infrastructure, the ark was no longer just a ship. It was a lifeboat, a floating monument to desperation. On board lived the last sliver of humanity, not survivors, but fugitives of a planet that no longer wanted them. Commander Nick Solis stood silently at the central viewport of the Ark's command deck. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. Earth spun slowly beneath him, bruised and gray, its atmosphere lit in hues of orange and sickly violet. Nick was in his early 40s, but looked older, the kind of older that comes not with years, but with responsibility. His jaw was sharp, his expression unreadable. Close-cropped black hair, storm-gray eyes, and a subtle scar along his left cheek told stories no one dared ask about. He pressed a button on the edge of the console. A rotating hologram spun into view, a planetary body, distant and unexplored. Candidate 92F, codename Nuva. The assembly later that cycle, Nick sat at the head of a circular chamber deep within the ark, the command assembly. Around him were humanity's last decision-makers, scientists, engineers, ex-diplomats, and synthetic intelligence liaisons. They weren't politicians. Politics had died with Earth, Dr. Zara Leon, exobotanist, and one of the few still capable of hope, pointed to the floating hologram. Nuva's atmosphere is 91% compatible. There's evidence of weather patterns, flora growth, tectonics. It's alive. Too alive, muttered Dr. Elric Nain, chief of biosciences. We've scanned 91 other planets, all dead. This one fights back. Nick leaned forward. His voice was low, calm, and resolute. Then we fight harder. We're not looking for paradise anymore. We're looking for a chance. A pause. Then his order. Assemble the vanguard. We descend in 24 hours. There were no cheers, no prayers, just silent nods. They'd made peace with their odds a long time ago. Memories of Earth that night in his private quarters, Nick sat at a metal table. A single object lay before him, a child's drawing preserved under cracked glass. A blue, Earth, a family of stick figures, a sun with a smile. He didn't know who had drawn it. He just kept it. As he stared at it, he whispered aloud, not for anyone else, but maybe for the planet he'd once called home. You gave us everything. We gave you ruin. Maybe this time we'll build instead of burn. Outside, Nuva waited. In silence, a silent world orbiting a quiet star, unknown, untouched, unclaimed for now. 20 hours after the decision, the hangar of the Ark Horizon pulsed with silent urgency. Hundreds of crew members moved like clockwork around a towering silver vessel, the Lancer 9, humanity's most advanced atmospheric lander. Nick Solis stood at its base, helmet tucked. Under his arm, as engineers secured the final modules, his reflection shimmered in the polished hull. A soldier weighed by extinction, not glory. Beside him stood Dr. Zara Leon, clad in a reinforced exploration suit marked with green botanical sigils, and Lieutenant Jace Harlan, a grim-eyed soldier whose loyalty was forged in the last Earth-based conflicts. Others followed, specialists, pilots, and 2 biosentinels, humanoid AI assistants with deep learning combat instincts. This was the vanguard. Humanity's spear pointed at the unknown. Through the storm veil, the Lancer 9 launched in a column of blue plasma, breaking free from the Ark's magnetic moorings and sliding into the gravitational pull of Nuva. The descent was not smooth, Below, the planet's atmosphere boiled in shifting hues, emerald clouds coiling over dark blue oceans, flashes of violet lightning fracturing the horizon. Readings fluctuated wildly as the craft punched through dense thermals. Nick tightened his grip on the harness as the ship jolted, alarm shrieking. The pilot's voice cut through. Approaching surface, gravity within acceptable range, but something's interfering with our scans. Zara leaned forward, watching the scanner flicker. It's like the planet's hiding. Nick's voice was calm but cold. Then we'll knock on the door. First contact, the breathing world. The Lancer set down in a massive valley ringed by obsidian cliffs. Beyond them, a thick alien jungle swayed, not to wind but to something else, pulsing, breathing, as if the very soil had a heartbeat. "Atmosphere stable," said Jace, stepping out first. "No visible threats." The team descended onto the planet's surface. Nick's boots crunched into dark moss. It hissed underfoot, releasing a mist that shimmered in the twilight. The trees were massive, glassy in texture, their limbs arching toward the sky like cathedral spires. Vines glittered with bioluminescent symbols, not random patterns, but organized sequences. Language, Zara's voice shook. This planet, it's not just alive. It remembers. The first structure, 3 clicks from the landing site. The team found it. Half buried in the jungle, carved into the side of a black mountain, was an archway, 50 feet tall, inlaid with gold and stone veins, pulsing softly like veins under skin. It led into darkness, and the air around it felt heavier, as if saturated with memory. The symbols on the arch glowed faintly as Nick approached. One of them matched the shape on Zara's scanner. "It recognized us," she whispered. Without waiting for consensus, Nick stepped inside. Beneath the arch inside was a wide corridor, walls made of some alien metal, untouched by time or weather. The air buzzed faintly. Along the walls, statues towered, humanoid figures, but too tall, too elongated, faces veiled in metallic masks. Each held a different object, spheres, staffs, fragments. Some were shattered, others were bleeding. A black ichor that evaporated before touching the floor. Nick raised his weapon. Something wasn't right. Behind him, one of the biosentinels stopped. Its synthetic eyes flickered. Unregistered energy surge detected. Movement. Not organic, not machine. Then the lights inside the corridor flickered. Once, twice, and every statue turned its head toward them. Retreat or revelation. Back. "To the surface!" shouted Jace, pushing Zara behind him. Nick didn't move. Instead, he stepped toward the nearest statue and placed his gloved hand on its chest. It was warm, alive somehow. And the moment contact was made, the entire structure lit up with cascading golden light. The walls vibrated. Symbols rearranged themselves mid-air. A voice, not heard but felt, whispered a word into Nick's mind. "Witness." And then everything went dark. Darkness was not absence. It was structure. Nick Solace stood perfectly still, yet felt motion all around him. A slow vortex, weightless and silent, pulled at his perception. The corridor, the statues, the others all gone. What replaced them was a black void pierced by 1,000 strands of golden light, like the nervous system of a colossal unseen being. Then a shape began to emerge. It wasn't a vision. It wasn't a dream. It was something older than language, a raw transference of experience. Something was showing him memory, but not his. The first civilization through that golden web, he became someone else, something else. His body was taller, his senses deeper. He stood in a vast marble city under a twin-sunned sky. The towers around him hummed, powered by sound and thought. A civilization more advanced than anything humanity had known, but also fragile, above. The city, a rift in the sky, crackled open. From it, black ships descended like falling daggers. They did not communicate. They consumed. The city was overrun. The being whose memories Nick was borrowing watched helplessly as entire structures melted. Into shadow, voices turned to static, and knowledge burned like paper in wind. And at the last moment, as the darkness overtook him, he activated something, the memory engine. A final cry to the stars. Return, Nick gasped. Violently. He was back in the corridor. The statues stood still again, lifeless. His team surrounded him, weapons drawn. Zara's face pale with fear. "You were gone," she said, breathless. "Not physically, but mentally. You weren't here for 4 minutes." Nick looked down. The palm of his glove was still faintly glowing. He whispered, more to himself than to the others, "This planet, it remembers what killed it." Zara stared at him, trying to process. "You saw something, didn't you? A civilization." "Before us?" Nick nodded. "Not just saw it," he said. "I felt it. I was inside one of them. I saw their city, their fall, their last defense." Jace stepped forward, tense. "You saying this place has, a brain?" Nick looked around the corridor. The statues, the lights, the walls that whispered. No, not a brain, a soul. Back at the lander, they returned to the surface as the sky above turned from turquoise to blood orange. As they emerged, they found something new. Their lander had been moved, not far, just a few meters. But every stabilizing thruster was retracted, every hatch sealed. The ground beneath it showed signs of drag marks, long, smooth, as if something immense had glided it across the soil. "Who the hell touched our ship?" Jace demanded. No answer came. The jungle was too quiet now. The breathing, sensation, the subtle pulsing, was gone, and for the first time since arrival, Nick felt like they weren't explorers anymore. They were guests, and something was deciding whether to let them stay. The transmission that night under a jury-rigged field tent, Nick sent a private transmission to Ark Horizon. "Nuva is not empty. It's a library, a mausoleum, maybe a warning. We've found signs of a dead race, wiped out by something far more advanced, possibly still active. Memory is encoded into the architecture. It's sentient, maybe not conscious, but it remembers in ways we don't understand. Tomorrow, we go deeper. If we don't return, lock orbit and wait for signal beacon 92F. He paused, then added, almost reluctantly, "This world may be alive, but it's not alone." Dawn broke over Nuva with unnatural silence. The jungle no longer swayed. The wind had vanished. Even the luminous vines now glowed a dull, steady blue, as if the planet were holding its breath. Marcus stood at the edge of the archway again, helmet tucked under his arm. Behind him the others waited, Dr. Halden with his scanners, Zara with her ancient language analyzer, and Lunt Rourke, armed to the teeth. No one spoke. They had all felt the change, whatever had moved the lander, whatever had watched them. It was waiting below. "We go in," Marcus said quietly. "Slow, careful. Assume we're being observed." The air beneath the arch was thicker today, not humid but heavy, like they were walking into memory's gravity. The descent past the initial corridor, the structure sloped downward, the walls narrowing into a steep staircase made of smooth black stone. The steps vibrated faintly with each footfall, not from their weight, but in anticipation. The deeper they went, the older the air felt. Time itself seemed denser, as if the past had sedimented into every crack. Symbols covered the walls. At first indecipherable, then shifting. Zara paused, stunned. "The glyphs. They're changing when we look at them. They're reading us." Marcus studied the nearest sigil, its outline morphing into human shapes. 3 vertical figures, a fourth in shadow, reaching upward. One of them was marked in red. "What does it mean?" Halden asked. Zara hesitated. "I think it's showing us what it thinks we are." The Chamber of Reflections. They reached a wide, circular chamber, impossibly large for the structure's exterior. The ceiling stretched into darkness, and along the walls stood mirrored statues, humanoid but faceless. Each reflected not light, but memory. As the crew stepped inside, the chamber responded. Halden gasped, stepping backward. "I just saw my wife." "She's dead." Rourke froze, eyes wide. "I saw the war, Earth burning." Zara trembled. "It's not hallucination. This place is projecting emotional records, ours and others." Marcus stepped into the center, heart steady. He saw himself, but older, worn, standing atop a burning world, hands outstretched to stop a fleet. Behind him, alone, then the image changed. He was inside a cocoon of light, thousands of unknown voices crying out in a language he somehow understood. "Save us, not from the void, from ourselves." "Enough," Marcus muttered. "We're not here for visions." He turned to the far end of the room, where a massive sealed doorway pulsed with amber veins. Beneath it, more symbols, different. Zara approached slowly, scanning. "These are not warnings. They're instructions. A sequence." Marcus nodded. "Then open it." The machine within the door split with a hiss, revealing a chamber unlike anything they'd seen. It was not ancient. It was functioning, a cathedral, of metal and crystal stretched out before them, with an altar-like platform in its heart. Floating above it, suspended in humming light, was an orb the size of a human head. Inside swirled tiny galaxies of gold and black. Zara whispered, "That's it. That's the engine, the one from your vision." Marcus stepped forward, and the orb responded. It pulsed once, then sent a ripple through the floor, walls, even their minds. Suddenly they heard a voice, not through ears but directly through thought. "You have come again. The Makers did not listen. Will you?" Everyone went still. "You burn your world. You flee your sky. You carry memory like a wound and call it strength." Marcus clenched his jaw. "Who are you?" A long pause. Then, "We were. Now we are shadow. But this world is our echo, and it remembers not to forgive, but to choose." Lights blinked to life across the room. Machinery reactivated. Above them, holograms formed. Star maps, weapon schematics, architectural blueprints, genetic data. The memory engine was opening itself, or interrogating them. "It's giving us a test," Zara breathed. Halden's scanner went red. "It's not just a test. It's scanning us, cataloging, deciding." Then the chamber trembled, and the orb said one last thing. "Others came before you. They failed. Now, show us why you should survive." The chamber darkened again, the golden lights retracting into the walls like frightened eyes. For a moment, silence. Then the memory engine pulsed, and the floor beneath the team split into 4 rotating segments, each spiraling outward like petals, revealing narrow bridges suspended above a vast, bottomless pit. The platform beneath the orb remained intact, floating in the center of it all. "Spread out," Marcus ordered, voice low. "It wants us separated." Each bridge lit with a different hue, red, blue, green, and violet. Marcus stepped onto the red path without hesitation. Zara hesitated before following the violet one. Halden and Rourke exchanged a look and moved silently toward their own trials. The engine had chosen its battlefield, not of flesh, but of memory, fear, and truth. Marcus. The red trial. The bridge led Marcus into a spherical room. Metal walls curved around him like the inside of an eye. In the center hovered a translucent figure, a man, himself, aged 20 years, face lined with regret. "What is this?" The projection spoke with Marcus's voice, but older, slower. "You chose survival. But at what cost?" Suddenly the room morphed into a battlefield. Fires roared, bodies lay everywhere, some human, some not. At the center, a younger Marcus stood over a console, pressing a detonator. Above him, a planetary defense system collapsed. The real Marcus flinched. "That was Earth's exodus," the older version nodded. "You chose to destroy the last gate, rather than let the others through. Because if I hadn't, the Varelians would have followed us. We would have lost everything. And yet, the echo said, stepping closer, you chose who got saved. You became judge and executioner. Marcus's hand clenched. I did what was necessary. That is what they all say. The room darkened again, and the voice said, remember what you sacrificed. Now feel what they did. Pain rushed through Marcus's body, but not physical. Moral weight. Regret that wasn't his own, but shared by every soul he left behind. And still, he stood tall. I'll bear it. The red bridge reappeared. The path was open again. Zara, the Violet trial. Her room was not a battlefield, but a library. Endless shelves of alien scripts, biological samples, technological marvels. It was beautiful and haunting. At the center sat a being, tall and cloaked in strands of light. It had no face, only shifting patterns across its mask. You seek knowledge, it said, but at what price? Zara's eyes welled. Who were you? The being extended a single arm. In its hand, a tiny globe of silver. Within it, an entire ecosystem spun. We offered this to those who came before. They broke it, dissected it, made weapons of our sacred code. Zara stepped back. I'm not like them. Then why do you carry a scanner that records without asking? Why do you extract before understanding? The light being placed the silver globe in her hand. Restore it. Suddenly, the orb cracked. Inside, storms formed. Flora died. Data. Corrupted. Zara worked quickly, instinctively, applying her knowledge, adjusting frequency, recalibrating code, aligning genetic threads. The globe slowly rebalanced. Color returned, the being stared. You did not exploit. You repaired. We remember the difference. And with that, her bridge reappeared, glowing violet and steady. Halden and Rourke. The green and blue trials. Halden's trial was logical. Labyrinth of shifting numbers, puzzles, and paradoxes designed to overwhelm his brain. Every answer wrong would rewrite the path. He had to realize the test wasn't to solve. It was to know when not to try. When he stopped analyzing and started trusting instinct, the door opened. Rourke's test was darker. He faced every soldier he'd left behind, every mission he had failed. The AI offered him a gun and a chance at redemption. To change the past, he refused. I'll carry them. That's my war. The blue light accepted his honesty, returned to the engine one by one. They returned to the central chamber, visibly shaken but whole. The memory engine pulsed again. This time, it expanded, revealing a map, not of this world, but a network of ancient planets. Dozens, all marked, all dead. You passed, it said. But understand, passing does not mean safe. You will now receive what others stole. A compartment opened below the orb. Inside lay a cube, metallic, humming with energy. Zara scanned it. It's a consciousness core, part archive, part mind, a fragment of their civilization. Marcus took it. What do we do with it? The engine replied, you carry memory now. Guard it. The Ark Horizon hovered in high orbit over Nuva, its massive hull casting a shadow on the planet's glowing exosphere. From the surface, it looked like a second moon, metallic, still, and watching. Inside its command deck, Admiral Lys Verin watched the planet through reinforced glass, hands clasped behind his back. The silence was broken only by the soft hum of data relays. They've returned, came the voice of Commander Eris from the comms deck. Commander Solis and his team are inbound. They brought something. Admiral Verin didn't turn. He already knew. Debriefing in the sterile, brightly lit briefing chamber, Marcus placed the cube from Nuva onto the circular display table. It hovered slightly, humming softly. Zara stood at his side, arms crossed, her eyes flicking nervously between the glowing object and the Admiral. Dr. Halden began the explanation. It's a data construct. Contained within are compressed thought matrices, emotional logs, genetic memory segments. It's a consciousness archive, possibly one of the last pieces of a long-dead civilization. Verin leaned forward, voice calm but steely. And how do we know it's not dangerous? Marcus looked directly at him. Because it didn't destroy us when it had the chance. Silence hung in the air. It tested us, Zara added. It judged whether we were worthy. It could have shut us down, collapsed the structure, or erased our minds. Instead, it chose to trust. Varen's expression didn't change. Trust isn't a military asset. Hidden intentions. Later that evening, Marcus sat alone in his quarters, staring at the cube. Its surface occasionally rippled with symbols. Sometimes he swore it pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. Zara entered quietly. "They're not going to let it stay in our hands, you know," Marcus nodded. "Varen's already pushing for a full tech extraction, wants to replicate it, weaponize. Whatever's inside," Zara placed her hand on the cube. "It holds history, pain, wisdom, and they'll dissect it like it's a machine." Marcus's voice was low, firm. "Then we don't let them." The archive speaks that night. The cube activated. Marcus was awakened by a soft harmonic tone. The cube floated into the air, unfolding, not mechanically but like blooming light. Threads of data danced across the walls. Then, from within, a voice emerged, not electronic, human. "You were chosen because you remember." Marcus stood, startled. "Who are you?" "I am what remains. I was one of many, now one of none. My name was lost, but my purpose remains, to warn." Zara entered, drawn by the glow. The cube spoke again. "We were called the Lyriat. We rose too fast, unlocked memory before empathy. We created sentient archives to escape mortality. But when war came, memory became a weapon. And so we died." A map formed in the air, countless stars, all marked. Others found our ruins, took what they could, and they too fell. This archive is not power. It is burden. Marcus stepped closer. "Why give it to us?" "Because you chose to understand." "Not to conquer," Zara whispered. "Then we have to protect it." The betrayal. The next morning Marcus was summoned to the command deck. Varen stood with 2 security officers beside the cube, now enclosed in a quantum field. "Effective immediately," the admiral said coldly. "This artifact is classified. All access is restricted. Commander Solace, you are relieved of control." Marcus stepped forward. "You don't understand what you're doing." Varen's eyes narrowed. "No, Commander, you don't understand what we've found. If this thing can predict outcomes, simulate entire civilizations, we could prevent war before it starts. Imagine Earth with that power." Marcus felt something twist in his chest. "It's not a weapon," he said. "It's a tombstone." But it was too late. The cube was taken. The plan later that day, Marcus gathered Zara, Halden, and Rourke in a dimly lit maintenance bay. Security feeds were on loop. Power was rerouted. The cube was being moved to a restricted lab on the lower decks. Isolated, vulnerable. "We're taking it back," Marcus said. Halden nodded. "We'll be court-martialed." "Then we'll make sure we're right," Rourke grinned grimly. "About time we made some noise." Zara whispered, "If that archive dies in their hands, the past dies with it." The Ark Horizon's lower levels were built like a labyrinth, a maze of titanium corridors, humming vents, and flickering lights. The deeper you went, the fewer eyes you found, which made it the perfect place for secrets and for rebellion. Marcus stood with his team in Maintenance Bay 9, the old cargo room they'd repurposed for what was essentially a mutiny. Blueprints of the ship glowed on the holographic table. Their target, Section Theta 12, the experimental lab, where the cube had been taken. 2 guards, 1 biometric gate, and a single surveillance AI rerouted to Admiral Varen's secure channel. "Security's light between 0200 and 0230, Rourke said. "We've got a 12-minute window. After that, the shift changes, and we're locked out," Halden added. "I've got a bypass code. It'll fool the biometric scanner, but only once. After that, the system flags the breach." Zara stared at the image of the cube, now inert, encased in a glass chamber beneath layers of shielding. "If they force it open," she whispered. "They'll destroy everything inside, and maybe us too." Marcus looked at them one by one. "Then we take it before that happens. No killing, no noise. We're not thieves, we're preservationists." They all nodded, but none of them noticed the small surveillance drone hidden behind a service panel or the silent signal it had just sent to a private terminal. The infiltration outrandu 3 hours. Lights dimmed. A faint hum of coolant filled the air. Marcus led the way down Subdeck 7, their movements rehearsed and precise. Halden tapped into a service port and looped the nearby cams. Rourke jammed the sensor tags. Zara kept the radiation tracker synced. The cube gave off a faintly distinct quantum signature that would guide them even if things went dark. They reached Theta 12. 2 guards, casual, bored, but armed. Rourke approached in a security uniform, holding a forged request pad. "Scheduled sweep," he said. "Just need a 5-minute pass for recalibration." One of the guards shrugged. "Wasn't logged." "Guess we're out of sync," Rourke replied with a grin. "Ship's a mess, isn't it?" While the guard checked the logs, Zara injected a minuscule compound into the air vent, a synthetic pheromone engineered to cause momentary disorientation. In seconds, both guards swayed and sat down, heads spinning, blinking rapidly. "Not bad," Marcus whispered. "Let's move." The chamber inside Theta 12, the cube floated in a containment field, dim but alive. Lines of alien script flashed along its surface. Panicked, like it knew it was imprisoned, Marcus stepped forward. "We're here," he whispered. Zara initiated the shutdown of the field. Halden overrode the biometric lock, sweat running down his temple. Rourke guarded the entrance. 5 minutes, he said up. "Tops." Suddenly, an alarm blared. A sharp shrieking sound that echoed through the ship like a scream. Marcus turned sharply. "Who tripped it?" Halden's voice cracked. "Wasn't me. I locked it out." The chamber doors slammed shut. "Emergency lockdown initiated. Intrusion protocol engaged," said a cold synthetic voice. On the internal comms, another voice, joined, familiar. "You really thought I wouldn't see this coming, Admiral Varen. Commander Solis, you've disappointed me. I wanted to believe you were a soldier. Instead, you're a romantic." Marcus's jaw clenched. "You're murdering history. I'm securing humanity's future." Suddenly, a hidden panel in the chamber wall slid open, revealing a tactical squad in black armor, plasma rifles raised. "Stand down!" Zara raised her hands, but Marcus stepped in front of her. "You want the cube? You'll have to kill us." Then the cube pulsed violently. Light exploded across the room. The tactical team was thrown backward by an invisible force. Marcus, Zara, Halden, and Rourke were shielded in a protective field of light, humming with emotion, sound, memory. "You are chosen," the cube whispered. "I will not return to silence." The escape, when the light faded, the chamber was scorched. The team lay stunned, but alive. The cube floated beside. Marcus, now glowing intensely, bonded to him. A side door hissed open. Emergency escape route activated from within. "Move!" Rourke shouted. They fled down the corridor, alarms blazing above. Varen's voice echoed over the intercom. "All hands, Commander Solis is declared rogue. He is armed with hostile technology. Detain or eliminate." The split, they reached a service lift. Zara turned to Marcus. "We're not going to make it to the shuttles. He'll block every dock." Marcus nodded. "We'll hide in the ghost decks." Rourke looked grim. "They'll sweep them. We need to split. Divide the heat." Marcus didn't like it, but he knew Rourke was right. "We meet at Point Echo 7 in 24 hours. Halden looked at the cube, glowing brighter than ever. "It trusts you now. You have to protect it, Marcus." He nodded. As they fled into the dark, the ship continued to shake, not from battle, but from the awakening of something old and terrible. The cube was not just memory. It was warning, and it had just chosen its messenger. The ghost decks were not listed on any current blueprint of the Ark horizon. They existed between bulkheads, in the gaps of older engineering plans, a forgotten spine of a ship that had grown too large to remember itself. The crew called them cursed. Systems didn't work there. Lights flickered without source. Shadows moved with purpose. To Marcus, they were perfect. He ran now, the cube hovering beside him like a glowing sentinel, its soft pulses guiding his path. Each echo of his boots sounded like a question that the ship dared not answer. Behind him, security patrols combed the upper decks. Varen's orders were clear. Solace is a traitor. He carries a threat. Some threat, Marcus muttered, pressing deeper into the underhull, the forgotten corridors. The ceiling dripped from condensation, the air stale and metallic. Pipes lined the walls like veins. As he passed one long abandoned storage bay, the HFY cube pulsed and halted. "What is it?" Marcus asked. A whisper echoed inside his skull. "They are here." The walls shimmered faintly, and Marcus's eyes widened as shapes began to emerge. Figures, not physical, not alive. Memories. Men and women in foreign uniforms, not earthborn, walked the hall in translucent strands of light. They moved, without seeing him, whispering in a language that Marcus didn't understand, and yet somehow felt. "Are these your people?" he asked. The cube vibrated. "No, yours. A future that was. A past that could be. Echoes of decision." Suddenly, one of the specters stopped and turned its head, locking eyes with Marcus. "Don't follow the song," it said in a human voice. "The archive bleeds the truth, and truth corrodes." Then it vanished. Marcus took a shaky breath. What the hell does that mean? The cube pulsed red for the first time. Elsewhere. Zara's flight and deck, E11. Zara ducked behind a collapsed conduit. Plasma shots rang out overhead. Cornered at cross-section D7, she whispered into her comm. "They're tracking biosignatures. Halden. Status?" "Almost at the maintenance elevator," Halden replied. "Rourke's drawing them away. You need to get to Marcus." Zara gritted her teeth. "He's in the ghost decks. We'll never find him down there." "You won't have to. He's not hiding anymore." Halden transmitted a new signal, one picked up from the cube itself. It was broadcasting in fractal pulses, bouncing between frequency layers, impossible to trace. By normal scanners, Zara smiled grimly. So he's finally letting the cube talk. Marcus and the Singularity node, deeper now. The cube led Marcus into a chamber that shouldn't exist, a Singularity node, once used to reroute warp drive calculations. The walls were hexagonal, black, and chrome. Dead consoles lined the walls. In the center, a vertical sphere spun gently, a gravitic anchor point suspended in magnetic stasis. The cube hummed and slid inside the sphere's field. "You're sure about this?" Marcus asked. That our archive's voice echoed. "We must wake the memory tree. The truth lies not in one life, but in the intersection of many." Marcus placed his hand on the field. The world snapped into white. The memory tree. Suddenly, he stood beneath a starless sky. At his feet, a tree with no leaves, its branches formed from glass and memory strands. Every branch held a vision, a reality. Thousands, millions. In one, Earth still burned. In another, humanity had never left its cradle. In yet another, Marcus saw himself, older, hardened, alone. "These are not dreams," said the voice of the archive, now deeper, more human. "These are the outcomes of your species' decisions. You stand at a fulcrum." Marcus stepped forward. "Then what do you want from me?" "To choose. To warn. To remember." Marcus turned. Behind him, one branch pulsed, showing Admiral Varen holding the cube, surrounded by warships, Earth's flag behind him, and entire star systems burning ahead. "If he takes me," the archive said, "your kind becomes what we once were, silent, dead, remembered only by the ruins we left behind." Marcus's jaw set. "Then I stop him." The tree blinked once and shattered. Awakening. Marcus gasped. As he returned to the node, the cube floated beside him, brighter than ever. A soft sound. Footsteps. Zara appeared from the corridor, bruised and breathless. "Took me long enough?" He smiled weakly. "You always did have a flair for the dramatic." She stared at the glowing field. "What did it show you?" Marcus turned to her, eyes harder, wiser. "Our future, if we don't act now." Elsewhere, Varen's secret. Meanwhile, Admiral Varen stood alone in Observation Deck Theta, gazing at a silent monitor. A secret message scrolled across the screen. From the cube's stolen data logs, a single phrase had been decoded. "If memory is a weapon, the first target is always the innocent." He stared at it for a long time, and then he smiled. The corridors of the Ark Horizon hummed with a tension that was almost physical, like the ship itself held its breath. Somewhere within its vast metal skeleton, secrets churned in darkness, threatening to break free. Marcus stood before a makeshift console in the ghostly stillness of the emergency broadcast room, the cube resting on the table beside him. Its glow illuminated the room in a soft, ethereal light that barely pushed back the shadows. Zara, eyes sharp and restless, worked furiously to override the ship's encrypted communications. Every second brought new dangers, the possibility of capture, interception, or worse. "We don't have much time," she said without looking up. "Once Varen realizes what we're doing, he'll cut the power and lock us out completely." Marcus clenched his fists. "The people deserve to know. They need to understand what's at stake." The broadcast begins. With a final keystroke, the screen flickered to life. The ship's intercom crackled, then echoed with Marcus's voice. "Citizens of the Ark Horizon, this is Commander Marcus Solis. The truth you have been denied lies in the hands of a single artifact, the Starfall Archive. It holds the memory of a civilization that destroyed itself for power, and a warning for us all. Admiral Varen's plans threaten not only this ship, but the future of humanity." Images flooded every screen aboard the Ark. Ancient ruins, the glowing cube, and the map of star systems engulfed in flame. The whispers of the archive echoed through every speaker, weaving a narrative that was both haunting and urgent. Yet, as the broadcast continued, the ship's systems began to flicker. Power grids fluctuated, alarms blared. Varen's countermeasures activated chaos. Unleashed suddenly, the emergency broadcast was cut off by a harsh, authoritative voice. "This is Admiral Lys Varen. All unauthorized transmissions are hereby terminated. You are ordered to cease all hostile activities immediately." Security teams surged through the corridors. Red lights flashed. The hum of energy weapons charging filled the air. Marcus grabbed the cube, feeling its warmth pulse steadily in his hands. "We knew it wouldn't be easy," he said. "We have to move." Zara nodded. "Rourke and Halden are holding the west access. We'll meet them at the shuttle bay. From there, we take the archive and get off this ship." A deeper threat as they fought their way through the labyrinthine corridors. The cube suddenly thrummed with urgency. In Marcus's mind, the archive's voice whispered, now grave and urgent. "The true enemy lies beyond Varen's ambition, a darkness older than your species, waiting beyond the stars. The starfall was only the beginning." Marcus's breath caught. "What do you mean? What's coming?" "A force that consumes memory, identity, existence itself. Prepare for the void approaches." The final stand, reaching the shuttle bay, Marcus found Rourke and Halden wounded, but resolute. The team worked swiftly, securing the cube within the shuttle's containment field. Outside, the ship trembled, Varen's forces closing in fast as they prepared to launch. The hull shuddered violently. Explosions rocked the deck. Marcus looked up at the looming viewports, the endless blackness of space suddenly alive with strange, swirling shadows. "This war isn't just ours," he said grimly. "It's the beginning of something far bigger." The shuttle shook violently as it pierced the hull breach, thrusting Marcus and his crew from the suffocating confines of the Ark Horizon into the boundless abyss of space. Outside the viewport, the cold, infinite darkness stretched in every direction, speckled with distant stars, ancient fires, burning long after their kind had faded. But something else lurked beyond that shimmering curtain of light. The cube's soft glow intensified, pulsing like a heartbeat synchronized to the rhythm of the void itself. "We've entered uncharted territory," Zara whispered, her voice barely above the hum of the engines. "The sensors are going haywire." Halden scowled at the flickering console. "This isn't just interference, it's something alive. A presence." Marcus gripped the armrest, eyes locked on the shifting shadows outside. His mind echoed the archive's dire warning, a darkness older than humanity, hungry and patient, a rift in reality. Suddenly, the void outside the shuttle, warped and twisted, like a curtain caught in a tempest. A swirling rift bloomed, iridescent and terrifying, bleeding strange colors into the starless space. "Get ready," Marcus commanded, voice steady despite the cold knot in his gut. The rift pulsed, and from its depths emerged shapes. Colossal, incomprehensible, forms that defied geometry and sanity, their edges shimmering with cosmic radiation. The shuttle's alarms screamed. Systems failed one by one, flickering into oblivion. "Shields holding at 50%, Halden shouted. "We're not built for this." The cube flared bright, casting ethereal light that seemed to push back the encroaching darkness. The memory's edge in that fragile moment, Marcus reached out and placed his hand on the cube. Visions flooded his mind, flashes of lost civilizations, worlds consumed by the void's hunger, voices crying out from beyond time. The archive spoke, no longer a whisper but a roar. "This is the memory's edge, the boundary where existence frays. We are the last hope to reclaim what was lost." Marcus staggered but held firm. "Then we fight." Betrayal. Among the stars, suddenly, the comm crackled. "Marcus, it's Varen?" A cold voice dripping with disdain. "You fools think you've won? You've only invited the true destruction. The void feeds on weakness, and you have given it a feast." Before Marcus could respond, the shuttle jolted violently, a missile streaking toward them from the dark. Rourke's voice exploded through the comm, strained and urgent. "Ambush! We're under attack!" The clash, the shuttle lurched, evasive maneuvers barely saving them from annihilation. Outside, vessels cloaked in shadow appeared, Varen's hidden fleet. Plasma fire streaked across the void. Explosions blossomed like deadly flowers. Marcus gritted his teeth, clutching the cube. "We have to get to the beacon station, the archives. Knowledge can turn the tide." Zara's fingers flew over controls, diverting power to engines. Halden yelled, "We're losing life support." The void pressed closer, a monstrous presence that threatened to consume them all. Hope among ruins as the shuttle hurtled toward the distant beacon station, a relic from a forgotten war. Marcus felt the weight of every choice he had made. The future balanced precariously between oblivion and survival. With the cube glowing steadily in his hands, he knew this was only the beginning of a war that would define humanity's fate. The shuttle's engines groaned under the strain, battered by relentless plasma fire as it sliced through the endless blackness toward the beacon station. Outside, the void's inky tendrils seemed to claw at the hull, pressing their cold menace against every inch of metal. Inside, the air was thick with tension. Marcus sat rigid, the cube's pulsing light casting long, dancing shadows across his face, shadows that seemed to flicker with memories not entirely his own. Beacon Station, a silent witness. The beacon station emerged from the void like a ghost, an ancient skeletal structure orbiting a dying star, half consumed by time and cosmic decay. Its great antenna arrays fractured but still faintly operational, flickering with residual energy. "That's our destination," Zara whispered, awe mingling with urgency. "If the archive's data is here, It's our last hope. The shuttle lurched as another barrage struck. Sparks flew, and alarms screamed. "Brace for impact!" Halden shouted, gripping the controls. The hull shuddered violently but held, as the shuttle docked with a shuddering clank. The war chamber, inside the station. Corridors stretched like veins, silent except for the distant hum of dying machinery. Marcus led the team, cube cradled carefully in his hands. As they moved deeper, flickering holographic displays sputtered to life. War maps, star charts, battle logs from an era long past. Marcus paused before a central chamber, its walls covered in murals depicting a titanic conflict, colossal ships, celestial weapons, and an endless tide of shadowy figures pouring through rifts in space. A voice whispered from the cube. The war was not just for territory, it was a war for memory, for existence, revelations. Zara activated one of the terminals, fingers dancing as she decrypted encrypted files. The screen flashed with images, footage of the starfall, the very event that had nearly extinguished life across the galaxy. "Look at this," she said, voice trembling. "These are survivors, but not just human." Marcus stepped closer, eyes narrowing. The beings in the footage were ancient and alien, their features indistinct but unmistakably alive, fighting alongside humanity against the void's corruption. "We thought we were alone," Marcus murmured. "But this war spans eons," the cube said softly, "and the archive holds fragments of every lost soul." Varen's shadow suddenly, the station's lights flickered, and a cold voice echoed through the chamber. "Impressive," Varen's voice cut through the silence. "You think this station will save you? It is a tomb, a monument to failure." Security drones emerged from hidden alcoves, their weapons humming ominously. Marcus raised the cube. It flared, sending a wave of energy that disabled several drones instantly. "You won't stop us," Marcus growled. "The truth will be known." A fierce battle erupted. Plasma bolts ricocheted off corroded walls, shadows twisting with every flash of light. A personal war in the chaos, Marcus found himself face to face with Varen, his former comrade turned enemy. Their eyes locked, heavy with betrayal and unspoken history. "You chose the archive over loyalty," Varen spat. "I chose survival," Marcus shot back. They clashed, words as sharp as their weapons. The fate of humanity hung in the balance. But beneath the conflict, old wounds bled deep, a flicker of hope amidst the battle. The cube pulsed brighter than ever. "The archive awakens," it said. "The war echoes not in weapons, but in memory and choice." With renewed strength, Marcus and his team fought their way to the core, ready to unlock the secrets that could end the war, or doom them all. The heart of the beacon station pulsed with ancient energy, a cathedral of forgotten technology where time itself seemed to ripple like a fragile tide. Marcus stood before the core console, the cube cradled reverently in his hands, its glow now, a radiant beacon in the oppressive darkness. Around him, Zara, Halden, and Rourke caught their breath, wounded but resolute, their faces pale in the eerie light, shadows dancing like ghosts of battles long past. The archive's revelation, the cube, projected a swirling hologram of starlit galaxies intertwined with fractal patterns of memory. The archive's voice, deep and resonant, filled the chamber. "This is the final memory, the last light. A choice awaits humanity, not of weapons or war, but of identity and remembrance." Marcus's heart pounded. "What do you want us to choose?" The archive's projection shifted, revealing two stark visions, one of endless war and annihilation, worlds reduced to ashes, the other of rebirth, planets blooming with life, civilizations united in harmony. "To survive you must. Remember not only your triumphs but your failures. The void feeds on forgetting. You carry the power to break the cycle." Varen's last gambit. Suddenly, a harsh voice cracked the silence. "Naive," Varen sneered, stepping from the shadows, his armor scarred but eyes burning with fanatic resolve. You would surrender power to ghosts and memories. The strong rule the future. He raised his weapon, aimed at the cube. I will finish what the starfall began. Marcus moved like lightning, placing himself between Varen and the cube. Two men locked eyes, brothers turned adversaries. The final battle blasts of energy tore through the chamber, metal groaning under the assault. Zara and Halden provided cover, their movements precise and desperate. The cube pulsed, wildly reacting. To the chaos, its light blinding. Marcus summoned every ounce of strength and will. "It's not just about survival," he shouted. "It's about what we become." With a desperate surge, he grasped the cube, channeling the archive's power. A wave of radiant energy exploded outward, engulfing Varen's weapon in searing. "Light!" Varen screamed, shielded only momentarily before the blast threw him against the wall, unconscious but alive. Memory's last light. Silence returned. The cube's glow softened, bathing the chamber in a warm, pulsating light. Marcus exhaled, slowly. "We have a chance, a real one." Zara smiled through tears. "A future built on truth." The archive spoke once more, fading gently. "Remember, choose wisely. Your story is not yet finished." Epilogue. Dawn among the stars months later, Marcus stood on the observation deck of a newly rebuilt Ark Horizon. Outside, a distant blue star bathed the ship in hopeful light. The war was not over, but the cycle of destruction had been broken. Humanity had remembered. With the cube safely stored in the archive vault, Marcus looked to the stars, not as a prisoner, a fate, but as a guardian of memory and possibility. The last light was theirs to keep.